This is Indie Book Publishing. Indie Book Publishing is a show about new books and the authors who wrote them. It's an opportunity for prospective readers to hear directly from the writers, to hear what inspired them to write and publish, and to hear all the inside details about their books. And now, Indie Book Publishing with your host, Steve Jorgensen.
You make a statement that Bonesaw blazes a path to destiny. Now, that's kind of a big short sentence with a lot of meaning, a metaphor here. What kind of destiny is Bonesaw going to experience?
Well, without just, blatantly giving the story away, I think another way of saying that, I think it's written somewhere in some literature, he's on his path to providence, and again, that's another way of, maybe we're all on a path to providence, really, and I think that's kind of what I'm going for there. I mean, I think all of us in our lives are, we operate, I think, on a kind of a surface level, and we are, accomplishing our daily tasks, whether it be work or whatever we feel like our goals are for the day, and there's that sense of, just paying the bills and making meals and maintaining our engagements and all those sorts of things. And I think as you kind of whittle down and kind of peel the proverbial layers back, I think you realize that intuition is operating, and there are some deeper kind of things that are operating on, if you will, a soul level. And I think, sometimes we go through our lives and we don't know why certain things are happening, or we're left kind of with, the universe seems to be hanging this carrot in front of us, and we grab for it, and we just can't get our fingers around it, but we, there's frustration, perhaps, or these kinds of things. And I think on a deeper level, we really kind of know why that is, and there's a path kind of behind the path that's already being cut for us, whether we realize it or not. And I think that's kind of the essence of that, and what I think I was going for in kind of putting this down.
Now, there's as you describe this character, a curious wolf, an unforeseen guide. What kind of a role does a wolf play? I guess he's with Johnny.
What kind of role does the wolf play? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's, I again, without, going too far and giving the story away, it comes to both things I think that happened personally in dealing with my buddy's passing, and then just as a nice kind of metaphor in a story, whether it be considered in this story as a dog or a wolf. I think it's construed as both. And I think as you read the story, you realize this seemingly disconnected stories really indeed are connected, and I think the wolf shows up in both stories, but you don't realize it's kind of the same wolf. And so, whether that be a guide or I think it hints to the idea that, whether we be in life or death, there's really kind of a thin veil that separates those. And I think the wolf really acts as a catalyst as you read through the story for that veil or that connection. So they kind of show up in both sides of the story, which and so however that wolf acts as a metaphor, I think some of it's a little loose, and I guess I kind of want it to be that way, only in that a lot of times that's how life is. It's there's this meaning that we can feel intuitively that we just can't quite get at with words, and I think that's the essence of what I was working to capture.
The theme of death can be a depressing one, but you've got a different perspective.
That's great. I think I struggle with that, or even struggle with the idea of even the daily challenges in life. I think it can be, at times very frustrating, obviously, or, very empty, or any of those things. And I'm even, kind of getting a stronger conviction about the idea that if you really delve into those kind of avoidable places, you realize that there's really damn near magic in those places, and really they're a great kind of platform for learning, and you realize that those places are really, really rich for meaning and for kind of the essence of our lives.
Dorian, tell us about this relationship between Bonesaw and Jenna. Now, is this an important part of the book?
Yes and no. I think it's certainly based on a real-life, obviously, relationship, and of course we're all familiar with relationships that are of a healthy nature and relationships that are of not so healthy a nature. And I think, for the sake of this story, I certainly want to kind of illustrate the idea of maybe a not so healthy relationship, but also I think it adds a little bit of, without, maybe this isn't the best choice of words, but it adds a little bit of trash to the story, and so it makes it perhaps, there's a sense of excitement perhaps, or a sense of, wanting to turn pages, to kind of figure out what little there is of kind of that relationship, and I think there's a gnawing and kind of a longing with kind of how they relate, and is toxic as that can be sometimes, or we've experienced. It's also compelling, and I think for those reasons, it made sense to kind of try to tell that story to a certain degree.
Well, and as you put it, often we are trapped by our insecurities, so you're just kind of opening that picture up to us.
You just said it. That is exactly right.
Well, as we wrap up here, you say you're a believer in the idea that we already know all the answers to all the questions of the universe. Now, that's a pretty comprehensive statement. So why don't you close out with some of your thoughts as it relates to the book?
Right. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. I do, and I think the book may be argued, written a little bit where, again, the spaghetti noodles aren't necessarily cleaned up off the sides of the plate, and I think I did that on purpose, only in that's how our lives are. A lot of times, we want to kind of have these at least in the Western way of thinking, we want to kind of have these clean answers and kind of cause and effect, and the idea of you start at A and you get to B, and then you can start again and go to C, and in certain ways life is like that, but in most ways it's really not, and I think certainly in kind of the realm of life and death, we're left often with leaving questions that we wish we would have asked, and conversations we wish we would have had, and all those things, and so. I think there's, again, as you said, intuitively, I think we already know in our heart of hearts, but I don't know that words can get us there or conversations can get us there. But I think on a soul or intuitive level, we kind of know, and our path perhaps may be cut already, and we're walking that path. I mean, maybe we're already living the dream, and we don't even know it. I'm often a believer in that, and I think it's, I'll end with a quote, and I don't know who this quote is, but it's certainly not mine. Maybe this is a Deepak Chopra thing, but kind of the idea that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And often it's all about perspective and perception,
We've been listening to Dorian Dalta. He's the author of his book, The Bonesaw Trail. Dorian, tell us how to get your book.
Oh gosh, pretty easy. As simple as a Google search, and really either that or you can just go to your favorite retailer. And if they don't have it on their shelves, they will sure to be able to order it for you.
Thank you, Dorian, for being with us on Indie Book Publishing.
Thanks so much.
And this interview has been brought to everyone by Balboa Press.